everyone! I'm going to take you on a little garden tour here at the end of May to show you everything we've got growing in our homestead garden. I'm just going to take you for a quick swing around and show you everything that we've got growing in the ground. I've kept wanting to wait until our garden was perfectly pristine and everything was amazing and look finished, and that just doesn't happen. So you're getting the look of what the garden actually is like. So we've got some rhubarb. This is its second year in the ground and we've already harvested it a few times, but it was a super established plant when we put it in. These are walking onions, and these are our very first time growing them. Someone was giving some away, and when we went to collect them, it was a gigantic box. So we planted them all the way around this rhubarb bed, and I think we're going to have walking onions for the rest of time. This is a really rough, sort of right on the edge of our garden. This is kind of the herbs. I just bought a toothache plant. You can eat the flowers and they make your mouth go really numb. It's a very bizarre plant and I just wanted to try it. I'd heard of it. We have a lot of sage, mostly because we like the way it looks. This is a horehound plant, which is my grandfather's favorite flavored candy, so I just wanted to get some to try out. We've got a rose bush which is not really an herb, some chive. I think the chive plants are really pretty, and then this is chamomile. I started this from seed, and we're starting to get the beginnings of some flowers that will hopefully get a lot larger. And then this is the giant pile of mulch that I would still like to spread. Over beside our house, we've got a strawberry lawn, which is just getting ready to give us some strawberries. So now, taking a walk, trying not to get you too dizzy here. These are our potato plants. I think potato flowers are underrated. I just think they're pretty. So there's potatoes under there, hopefully, with any luck. These are really starting to go to town and get quite big. This was a part of a clothesline. We cannot dig it out despite trying for about a month. So we're going to give up and fill the hole back in with dirt and leave it there as a trellis. This is another full bed of potatoes. These are about to flower as well. So we've had very good luck with potatoes. These are sort of the things that still want planting. I've got a little bit of basil, a couple of my winter sown jugs where you plant the seeds in the winter and then they grow up when they're ready, and go that way. We have our blackberries all in flower here. The blackberries, some years we get a huge yield and some years not so many. This is looking like sort of a medium year. Also, I planted a lot of things early that were a little bit on the fence about were they going to be okay. These are loofah gourds, and so I just cover them with jugs with the bottoms cut off. It makes a little greenhouse, makes them germinate a little bit faster and all of that. I'm doing the loofahs on here because there's already a trellis built, and so this way if the loofahs grow up between the blackberries, I don't have to build another trellis. So there's another loofah in that jug, last of the blackberries, and then right on the edge there's a loofah that was outgrowing its jug. This loofah is looking a little bit pitiful, but is also starting to go a little bit. So we'll see how that ends up. One more bed over. This is the bed that's the farthest back. There's a big giant tree here which does a fair amount of shade, but most of the bramble fruit is pretty happy in part shade, so it does okay. These are going to be red raspberries here, and not all that much longer. And I didn't plant anything in with them, partially because they're spiky and it would make it hard to pick other things, and also it's pretty shaded under here. So on the other side of that, we've got, these are our Hugelkultur beds. There is just like old rotten wood under all of these, with a bunch of compost and horse manure on the top. I've got cabbages, red cabbages, broccoli, and Brussels sprouts planted in here. We'll see if they are going to do well with the heat. This is the second planting of these. The slugs ate the first planting of these, so we're a little late. We'll see if they can do all right with the warm weather. This is our asparagus patch. It's been in the ground for I think 7 or 8 years now. We've gotten a lot of asparagus out of this. Once they start getting thinner than a pencil, we let them go to create the next round of asparagus. But there's been quite a lot picked out of here already. And last year, we had at least another month of asparagus that we were still able to pick. So this will be ready when I come out this evening to harvest a bunch of stuff. So that's the asparagus bed. All the way down this side, these are all perennials. This I put compost on that wasn't finished breaking down. So there's some cardboard and paper in there, but this is another full asparagus bed. I planted all of these from seeds that the asparagus bed that I just showed you created. The female asparagus plant will throw out seeds in the fall. And I started those just as an experiment. And I think I had about 100 germinate. So this whole bed is full of baby asparagus. And at the back, this is a perennial type of kale called sea kale. And I have 2 of those in there as well. I probably won't harvest those very much this year, but in next year and forevermore, we should have tons of that to be able to eat. These are another unusual perennial. This is a plant called Jacond. It grows under the ground. It's sort of like jicama, but I've never actually had it. So that's what the descriptions say. I have 4 of those plants. I also have some lovage, which is a perennial, sort of like a celery flavor. And then we also put some cowpeas, like black-eyed peas, planted along the front of this bed. And the last of the perennial beds, we've got, these are cardoons, which are a variety of artichoke. Sort of. You eat the leaves or the stalks, the stems, instead of the actual flower bud like you do with a regular artichoke. And then these are Jerusalem artichokes, which are neither from Jerusalem nor related to artichokes. We've grown them in the past. So we put the relative of artichoke with the thing called artichoke, and then there's some cowpeas in here too. Most of those, they're just in there for their sort of nitrogen fixing quality. Looking back up from the bottom at all of the Hugelkultur beds, this bed is pretty much the only bed that's just empty in our garden right now. I tried to start Brussels sprouts in here just from seed, and they either did not germinate or slugs ate them all. So I will be planting something else in there, but I haven't decided exactly what yet. Then this bed is got a trellis on this bed and the bed next to it. I've got patty pan squash on this side, so the patty pan squash will kind of spill out on this side. And then all the way along here, I have different varieties of melons. So I have Tigger melons, which are like a little stripy guy. I have cantaloupes, and I have lemon drop watermelons, which are all yellow on the outside and on the inside. These I did the same way as the loofahs. They like a little bit of extra heat. So when I planted the seeds, I popped those jugs over the top of them, and it looks like that was a wise decision because I've got a lot of sprouts going on. It looks a little weird, like you're trying to grow milk jugs in your garden, but that's okay. I don't have a garden because I want it to look exactly a certain way. And then on the other bed, on this side, we've got all different kinds of cucumbers. We've got lemon cucumbers. This one I actually planted out as a seedling, but just protected it with the jug. We have pickling cucumbers, where you can see these I did plant the actual seed, and we're starting to get little sprouts there. I also think that the covers help with bug damage just a little bit. I think we have flea beetles, something kind of bad, and the plants that are covered with the jugs seem to have less damage. This is one of my favorite plants. This is a cucamelon. We call them mouse melons because they create tiny little things that taste a lot like a cucumber, but they look exactly like a teeny tiny version of a watermelon, which is adorable. Then we've got our yellow crookneck squashes on this side to kind of spill out. And then this bed, we have something called wonderberry in the front. They're supposed to look a little bit like blueberries, just be a sort of edible berry. I've got lettuce here, various different kinds. We've got some romaine lettuce and some like a butter crunch style, a little bit of red lettuce. We've got some spinach, we've got some more lettuce, and then some cilantro, which is probably going to bolt pretty soon because it's very hot out. It's the last week of May, and it is currently 87 degrees outside, so it's warm. And then this is the last Hugelkultur. This is all tomatoes. These are all the San Marzano tomatoes, which is our favorite for tomato sauce, and then I have one, just because I had an extra one, black elephant tomato, which is supposed to be like an heirloom slicing tomato. I have not ever had it, but I got the seeds in a seed swap, so I'm gonna try it this year. And now we're back to where we started from with our cabbage and broccoli again. So we've got the 2 rows of soft fruit that I've showed you already. This is another row of soft fruit. These are all blueberries down the middle here. And then we've started beans all the way along. And this is what I meant. I think these are flea beetles. I should get out here with some insecticidal soap and spray. My general garden principle is if the plants can't make it with pretty much no care from me, they're probably not well suited to my garden. We don't normally spray very much of anything or do much of anything other than plant them and mulch them. You can see our blueberries are making blueberries. We never get tons, but enough to eat and mostly for the kids to eat. We have 4 different kinds of beans planted in here. So I've got green beans, but they're purple colored on one. These are edamame, the edible soybeans. Then we have, these are black turtle beans. All of these, you can see there's a lot of insect damage of some kind or another on here. We'll see if we actually get these or if we need to plant another round. And then the last, but black beans have a lot. We have a lot of black beans. I have all different varieties of blueberries, but I don't remember what any of them are because I planted them a bunch of years ago when we had first moved in. And then the last of the beans are garbanzo beans or chickpeas, and I'd never planted these or grown these before, and the leaves look cool, so I think those are kind of fun. I think they look like peanut peas. Then we've got some oregano, or oregano, if your husband's not British like mine. Some last of the blueberries there. These are all of the winter sowing jugs that did not sprout. I used questionable seed sources, mostly my own collected seeds from like walks of wildflowers and things like that. A lot of them didn't sprout. It's not the fault of the winter sowing method, it's the fault of my inexpert seed collection. This is the last of our soft fruit in the garden. These are all grapes, and it looks like we have a lot of grapes that hopefully we'll actually get to eat some of this year, along with the birds getting to eat a bunch. And we have peas growing all the way along both sides of this trellis, again because I don't like to have to build extra trellises. The peas are going to be done producing by the time the grapes get so big to overshadow them. Plus, in the heat of May and June, the peas probably don't mind the little bit of shade that they get cast from the grapevines. As I move on to the next bed, these were the 6 beds of the garden last year. The soft fruit beds, the soft fruit was still planted, but I hadn't created beds around them or planted anything else with them. So we've expanded quite a bit. This was my pandemic project, was digging holes in the yard. This is more potatoes. So there's a lot of potatoes coming along. We have got onions here. I tried to do a lot of onions from seeds, and this is those. They didn't do great. So I've got some more space to plant something else. We'll go in there. These are okra. I planted okra seeds a few days ago, and I'm not seeing any okra sprouts yet. Oh, here's one. An okra sprout. So these are all going to be okra. We love pickled okra, and so that's why I have planted 6 okra plants. Generally, they're pretty good yielders, and so we're going to have a lot of okra. This is parsnips. There's some parsnips that came up, but I didn't have a great germination rate. I planted rows of parsnips all the way along here, and I only got just a few coming up. So I don't know what's happening. I'll plant them again. I haven't done a lot of parsnips, but we like them. They're a root crop, sort of like a potato or like a carrot, although they taste not all that much like a carrot. Here's some more of my onions that I started from seed. These look a little bit better, but there's space to put some other things in with them as well. And then I have salsify, which I'm trying for the first time in here as another root crop that I have planted but hasn't come up. And then these are carrots. I cannot germinate carrots to save my life, and I heard the tip somewhere that if you water them after you plant them and then you put a board on top of them, that keeps the soil damp for them to germinate. This is attempt number 4, I think, at germinating carrots this year, so I'm trying it. I haven't tried it before. We'll see if that's helpful. Here are some more onions. Can you tell we eat a lot of onions? We have a lot of onions growing. Then I've got some onions that didn't get harvested last year, and so I'm just gonna let them. They started to go to seed before the onions themselves had gotten very big because they'd overwintered last year. So I'm just gonna let them make pretty flowers. They're not really worth eating anyway, and the flowers will be pretty. The insects will like them. Got a little bit of lettuce that overwintered. This will be salads in the next week or two. It's starting to get hot enough, and these have overwintered. They're going to start bolting here in any minute now. Then we've got some fennel. Again, I didn't get great germination, but we've got a couple of fennel plants. I'll put some more seeds in there pretty soon. I've planted in here some sesame seeds to grow some sesame seeds. I don't see anything germinating, but I didn't plant them that long ago, so I'm still hopeful. And then this is more toothache plant that I planted from seed. It hasn't come up yet, and when I saw the plant for sale, I really wanted to try it, so I grabbed the already done plant. So I may end up with lots of toothache plant or not very much at all. These are all leeks. These were the alliums that I started from seed that did the best. So these are all started from seed in January, and these are doing very, very well. These are all roselle in here. That's what you make hibiscus tea from. So they're a variety of hibiscus flower. They just planted the seeds, and they are all starting to come up. So I'm excited about those. It's my first year for growing those. I snuck in 2 more tomatoes. I think these were Jersey Devil tomatoes, another paste tomato. We've got some Swiss chard that's starting to bolt. This overwintered as well. We've got, these are Nicotiana flowers right here. They're supposed to keep bugs away, so I had some extra ones and I decided to stick them in the garden rather than in the flower bed, in the hopes that they would keep the bugs away. These are Brad's Atomic Grape tomatoes. They're supposed to be sort of a cherry tomato size and really neat colors. I started those from seed. I've never grown them before. This bed is a little bit of a mess. This is my radish and beet bed. I just didn't get great germination, and or the bugs ate all the seedlings. So I've certainly got some. These are fruit radishes, which if you grow them in the cool weather are supposed to be sweet like a fruit. If you grow them in the hot weather, they're supposed to be like a horseradish, super, super strong. I've also got some Jaconds, just some regular, like red breakfast radish things in there. Something called a giant radish that's supposed to get up to like 40 pounds. Got some random lettuce that overwintered in here. Beets and I do not get along very well, so I planted beets, and I have some beets, but I don't have as many beets as I should have, so I'll have to do something else with the beets. And then there's nothing on in this part of the bed, so I've got some more space to plant a little bit more. And then this, we've got some more Swiss chard going. I've got turnips, I've got rutabagas, I've got bok choy, I've got kohlrabi, I have a turnip green that's going to seed. I have some more onions that didn't get harvested last year that are coming up. But I do definitely have some like turnips and rutabagas. Some stuff is happening. And then these are more Jersey Devil tomatoes. I've got 4 more of these. These are also a paste tomato that I've not ever grown before. And then this is endive in between them, just because I had some extra plants going there. Everything down here that you see, these are all our fruit trees. This is our fruit tree orchard. We need to get our weed whacker in here going, but we basically have every kind of fruit tree that will grow in the Midwest USA, which is where we are. We've got, here's one. We've got peaches, so that's what this is. We've got peaches, plums, pears, apples, lots and lots and lots of apples. And then this one is a maple tree, which is unfortunately going to have to come down. A squirrel must have planted it in the orchard space, and the tree that was there must have died. But we were like the 3rd season into it, and like, what fruit is this? It's not a fruit, it's a maple tree. We also had a little bit of an interesting experience with our cherry trees. We think that the graft died off or didn't take, and so we have wild cherries instead of the like sweet cherries, but they're fine. They make flowers. The birds like them. They're nice trees. We're not going to cut them down. And there are some things that you can do with the cherries. They're not poisonous or anything. They just don't get very big. And here's an apple tree with apples on it. There's more apple trees up here. This is all a this big long is all flowers. Most of them are native perennials or drought tolerant perennials. There's a lupin blooming up towards the front there. There's some breadseed poppies. Basically anything that was on sale that looked fun, I got. And some gladiolus and some liatras are sprouting down that way. I planted some horseradish in there because why not? There's some climbing stuff that's going to go up there, but there's not a lot to look at yet because this is all still just getting started. Our kids decided they wanted a goldfish pond. Our kids are 3 and 5, so that is not a goldfish pond, but they're enthusiastic about it, so that's what we're doing right now. And then all of these, this bed here is our peppers and eggplant. So, whew, look at that. I haven't actually pulled these guys up. I started the eggplants inside. This one is gonna make white, like long finger style white eggplants. And then this is an orange eggplant, sometimes called a Turkish eggplant, is I think what it said in the seed catalog. I'm excited about both of those. I've got some basil here just because I had some extra. I didn't really realize quite how much this apple tree was going to overgrow this bed when I got started. So there's more shade here than strictly necessary, but we've got basket of fire chilies and mini bell peppers and the paprika, so the peppers that paprika comes from. I really need to get out here and spray insecticidal soap or something like that to get whatever that is under control. These are poblanos. These pepper plants I overwintered from last year. So I dug them up in the late fall last year before the first freeze came and killed everything, and just brought them inside to live until I started my seedlings in January, February, March time. Then I brought them into the warmer part of the house and started watering them, and so I've ended up with some really early, these are cowhorn peppers, some really early peppers compared to, you saw the size of the other pepper plants. I think, there's, I was going to say I think that's everything, but but it's not. These are my climbing beans on this trellis. There's scarlet runner beans here, and then I planted something called winged beans over here, but just a few days ago, and I'm not seeing any activity yet. They're supposed to be very prolific though, so I'm excited about those. This bed here is our garlic. It's super happy. I've never grown garlic at this kind of scale before, but we got 3 different varieties and planted them in the fall. I had a few extra potatoes, so I stuck some potatoes in the corner because I needed somewhere to put them. We've got itty bitty little tomatillos here on the edges. This garlic is going to come out in another month or two, and so the tomatillos will have more space to grow. This is our cutting greens. We've got a couple different kinds of kales in here, turnip greens, bok choy, tatsoi, all that kind of stuff. Some other heads of lettuce, the red sales, and I think these are called Tom Thumbs. I love how cute and adorable the little heads of lettuce are. Some more kale. I came out and picked kale this morning, so the kale is much smaller than it was, but everything in here is kind of on its way out. None of these greens like 90-degree days, so we interplanted them with corn. We just stuck corn seeds in the ground, and so as those start to grow up, they'll provide a little bit of shade for the greens that are in here while we harvest the rest of them. There's also a few tomato plant volunteers in the corner up here. I can't decide if those are going to stay or not. So that is all of the garden beds. I hope that it was interesting. It is in no way perfect. There's a million jobs that still needs to be done, but it is what it is, and I'm pretty excited about it. We have been getting a significant amount of our produce from this garden for probably about a month now, since mid-April, between the asparagus and all of the greens, and there's a few potatoes that I think are going to be ready to get here pretty soon. We're getting our first strawberries. A few of the tomato plants have little baby tomatoes on them, so I think we're really at the start of having lots and lots of food from the garden.